The Cold Years. Interior, loft living room, day. Laura Jensen, late 30s, sits on the expensive couch in her New York loft, looking at her tablet. She is scrolling through a fashion website. Her fiancé, Frank Domenico, late 30s, stands staring out the window. Frank: 3 days of this. 3 days. So damn much snow. 4 nor'easters in a row. Laura: Frank: never seen anything like it. Laura: I've been telling you. Frank: don't start in on that solar cycle crap again. Laura: you don't have to believe me. Just pay attention to what's in front of your face. Interior, bedroom, day. Laura is selecting clothes to wear to a gathering of their friends. Her closet is filled with designer clothes. She pulls out several items and holds them in front of her, then decides on an elegant silk blouse and black slacks. Frank: why do you need so many clothes? Laura: I need to keep up with the competition. Interior, trendy restaurant, late afternoon. Half-full bottles of expensive champagne and half-eaten plates of exotic appetizers litter the table. The other 4 people at the table are about the same age. They are well-dressed and well-groomed, with the air of successful professionals. Olivia: haven't you had enough of this rotten weather, Frank? Frank: months ago. Olivia: takes a lot of the fun out of living here, you know. Frank: you usually don't complain about a lack of having fun. Olivia: it's been a little quiet lately. Frank: I'm sure you'll find a way to spice it up. Interior, bedroom, night. Laura and Frank get ready for bed. Laura: you seem to spend a lot of time talking to Olivia. Frank: we were just chatting about work. Laura: it looked like more than that, but I don't care where you get your appetite as long as you come home to eat. Frank: come a little closer and I'll eat you. Grinning, Laura pushes off her pajama bottoms. Interior, office, day. Laura meets with her team. They sit around table eating donuts, drinking coffee, throwing out ideas. Laura: they tell us they want a very futuristic look for this. Team member 1: there's a new building on Madison Avenue that might fit that. Laura: any ideas for an actor? Team member 2: maybe we should use a robot. Laura: we asked about that. They want a live person. Team member 1: someone who's had too much plastic surgery? Interior, studio, day. Laura directs the shooting of a video for her company. Laura: all quiet on the set. Sound rolling. Recordist: sound. Laura: camera rolling. Camera operator: camera. Laura cues the actor. Laura: when you're ready. Interior, locker room, afternoon. Frank dries himself and gets dressed in the locker room of an expensive club after playing racquetball with one of his buddies from work. Jimmy: mainly I like a woman who is good in bed. Frank: that's a pretty limited point of view. Jimmy: maybe, but when I hear you complain about Laura's view of the world, I wonder why you stay with her, because there are so many hot women in this town. You wouldn't believe what some of them are into. Frank: I fell in love with her the moment I met her, and I still am. But there are issues. You can take the hick out of the sticks, but you can't take the hick out of the hick. Have you ever fallen in love? Jimmy: the only thing I ever got from falling in love was pain. I avoid it. Frank: what happens if you meet the woman who might be the one? Jimmy: I dump her fast. Frank: don't you get lonely sometimes? Jimmy: not that I'm aware of. Interior, gourmet market, late afternoon. Laura picks out some tasty items for dinner: a meat dish, salad, baguette, and a nice bottle of wine. Interior, loft dining room, early evening. Laura puts the meat and salad into the refrigerator and opens the bottle of wine. She sets the table. Laura watches a movie until Frank comes in. Laura brings out the food. Laura: how was your game with Jimmy? Frank: I'm getting closer to beating him. Laura: is that important to you? Frank: it's not life or death, but I'd like to come out on top now and then. Laura: why do you keep playing with him? Frank: the only way to get better is to play with stronger players. I'm lucky he's willing to let me play with him. Laura: we got that new account I was telling you about. They want a really high concept for this. I'm not sure we have it yet. Frank: that's a case in point. Stretching yourself. They ate in silence for a while. Laura, Jane told me she's pregnant. Frank, is that so? Laura, all of our friends are having kids. Maybe it's time for us. Frank, you know I'm up for a promotion to a management job. It's a lot of pressure. I'm getting too old to be on a trading desk. If I don't make it, they're just going to dump me. Maybe we can after my future is more settled. Laura concentrates on her food. Interior, Laura's office, morning. Standing in front of her computer, she opens up YouTube to check on her company's latest video. When it opens, she sees the icon for a video called Global Warming or Global Cooling. She clicks on it. Tube guy. Although it got warmer for more than a century after 1890, that stopped in 2000, and the world has been getting colder ever since then. She pauses the video and calls in one of her co-workers to watch the rest. They watch as the speaker goes through a number of points intended to support his case. Laura, do you think this is something we should pay attention to? Co-worker, that's all crap, just another conspiracy theorist who has nothing better to do with his time. The co-worker leaves and Laura starts going through her emails. Interior, loft cooking area, Sunday morning. Laura watches the news as she cooks breakfast. She is pouty because Frank doesn't pitch in. The news switches over to a weather segment. Weatherman, here we go again. Another polar vortex is slowly making its way down through the whole eastern part of the U.S. The wind chill in the city will be -20 today, so don't go out unless you have to. If you do go out, make sure you cover your face as much as you can. You can get frostbite in minutes under these conditions. Frank comes to the breakfast bar and they eat. Laura, we've been having these polar vortex events for several years now, and they seem to be getting worse. Frank, and what do your YouTube conspiracy theorists have to say about that? Laura, they say there's a reason to believe that it will continue to get colder. Frank, there are no facts about the future. Frank's phone chimes to let him know a new message has come in. Frank, they're canceling the tournament because of the cold. Interior, Laura's office, morning. Sipping coffee, Laura discusses the weather with her co-worker. Laura, I'm not a scientist, but it seems to me that every year for the last 4 or 5 years the winters have been getting worse. Co-worker, maybe it's just random events. I've been hearing about warming all my life. Why would I think anything different? Interior, loft living room, evening. Laura sits at her PC and watches videos about global cooling. She sees videos about sunspot cycles, Milankovitch cycles, precession of the equinox, cosmic ray increases, atmospheric compression events, the grand solar minimum, and rationing of vegetables in Britain due to crop losses in southern Europe. Frank comes home, late as usual. Laura, eagerly, you wouldn't believe the stuff I've been watching about climate change. Frank, I don't want to hear about it. Laura, hard day at the office, hon? Frank goes to the sleeping area, undresses, and falls into bed. Interior, loft living room, evening. Super, the following Sunday. Laura makes her regular phone call to her dad. Laura, how's it been going with the farm? Dad, I've never seen so much snow this early. We've had a lot some years in the 70s, but this tops that. We've had a couple of people freeze to death because they couldn't find their way back to the house after milking the cows. Laura, how are the crops? Dad, not as good as last year. I just barely got them in before it snowed. The Farmer's Almanac said it would be a hard winter, and they are right so far. Laura, how do they know? Dad, they say it's from counting sunspots. Laura, I just saw something about that on YouTube. Dad, so when are you going to come back home and settle down? Laura, you mean get married and make babies? Dad, what's wrong with wanting to see some grandkids before I die? Interior, loft cooking area, evening. Laura warms food in the microwave for dinner. Her phone chimes. The caller ID tells her it's her father's girlfriend. Laura, this is Laura. Cynthia, how are you doing? Laura, fine. What's up? Cynthia, I'm sorry to have to tell you this. Your father has lung cancer.